Absolutely. Brad Taschuk is back on the line with us again. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm doing well, guys. Good to be on the line with you and chat about some MMA.
I'm outnumbered tonight. It's 2-1 Canadians versus Americans.
That's what it'll be if we play each other in the Olympics, too.
I was waiting for that joke. I was setting it up and I was hoping you would knock it down.
Americans in the semis and Russia for the gold. I like it.
Yeah. Well, we're looking good in group play so far, so Canada and the U.S. seem to be the favorites right now.
Yeah, when you got a Maple Leaf playing the big star for Team USA. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Team Russia has Ovechkin, so you would expect them to do well.
Yeah, with that, no.
Well, what did you think of the shootout as long as we're on the subject?
TJ, what do they call him now? TJ Sochi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that rule, to be honest, but it's international hockey, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see they actually put up a big poster or banner in, like, Red Square denouncing the referee?
No.
Yes, they did.
Oh, for that goal that got called back?
Yeah, they're livid about it.
I will say TJ had he had a good quote after the game. He said, "How does it feel to be a hero for the United States?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not wearing camo."
Good one, I like that.
I got a lot of followers on Twitter for that one.
I'm sure he did, but anyway, we're not just here to talk Olympic hockey tonight, even though that's what I've been doing for MMA Oddsbreaker lately. It's pretty much nothing but Olympic hockey. We could talk about that all night till the cows come home, but we also have this big fight card coming up on Saturday. So, Peter, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the first time in UFC history, it's Olympian versus Olympian.
Absolutely. So that's got to be some interesting odds going into that fight, Brad. What are we looking at right now?
Right now, you've got Ronda Rousey as a pretty big favorite. She's minus 440, which is lower than she's been in previous fights and actually significantly lower than she opened. She opened all the way up at minus 705. So it looks like there's been some early action on Sara McMann, which is interesting to me. I can see where people are coming from. I just don't think that McMann has the game to beat Rousey here. So I like that I'm getting a little bit of a discounted price on one of the top two female fighters in the world.
Understandable. I think that it's definitely a tempting bet for a lot of people, given that they are both Olympic caliber athletes, and the fact that Sara McMann is undefeated to this point, a lot of people may see her as the first threat to Ronda Rousey, because I don't think a lot of people saw Miesha Tate as a threat, given that she had already beaten her in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing you have to look at is, we've seen time after time that Olympic wrestling, or really any wrestling, really tends to trump judo or any other martial arts if you're going one-on-one in MMA. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case here, but again, I can see where people are coming from with the McMahon love and the McMahon money, and I just hope that it keeps happening.
McMahon love, McMahon money. Doesn't that sound like we're talking about WWE?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Peter, what do you think about this fight on Saturday night? Do you put money on McMahon, or would you stick with Rousey?
I'm going to stick with Rousey on this one, but I'm kind of worried as well that this is a very short turnaround from her last fight. We haven't seen a quick turnaround like this since John Jones, but I mean, it's one of those things where Rousey, she's going to get tested, by the top level fighters in the UFC. She's the champion in that weight class, and any champion's gonna have a big bullseye, but when you're Ronda Rousey, it's the only division the women have, so it's a lot more specific, high-level, high-ranking fighters. McMahon, don't put it past her. She could shock the world, and if she does, it would be huge because it would set up either an automatic rematch, or maybe Rousey goes away for a little bit, does the movie thing, comes back, and have the rematch down the road. But when that door closes, anything goes, and I think Rousey's got the tools to win this fight, but if this fight goes past the first round, it favors McMahon to the point where maybe McMahon wins. I don't see it going 5 rounds, but I think Rousey will win in the first 2. If we get to a third, McMahon might have the slight edge. But depending on how Rousey fares, we might not see Rousey for a little while after this fight.
Well, now you mentioned something that I wanted to hit on, and it's that she's doing movies, she's getting a lot of endorsements now, she's the man of the hour, pardon the gender pun there, but it's just, it seems to me, and I heard Tough Talk MMA make this point as well, Oliver Kopp and Mike Sawyer said this, that she may be spreading herself a little too thin.
Yeah.
I think that would be more of an issue for the Miesha Tate fight than for this fight, really, because between that Tate fight and this McMann fight, she hasn't been off shooting movies and doing all that stuff that she was doing during her initial break between Carmouche and Tate. So I think if there was the time for that to really come in and have an effect on the fight, it would have been last fight, not this one.
Oh, that's a fair point. So
I think she got easily motivated for her last fight as opposed to this fight, though. There's that true, genuine hate for Tate in that last fight.
yeah, she probably has more respect for McMann, being that's a fellow Olympic athlete, and she knows how hard you have to train to be an Olympian.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. So we got a very interesting co-main event, which has really heated up in the last week. The smack talking on Fox Sports Live between Pat Cummins, he refuses to call him Patrick anymore, he calls him Pat Cummins, and Daniel Cormier. I'm really excited about this fight, but I gotta imagine, Brad, the odds are ridiculous on this one.
The odds are extremely ridiculous. Daniel Cormier, he opened up minus 1125. Right now, he's at minus 1200. And, you know, the UFC's trying to do everything they can to sell this fight. They're trying to create this. I'm not even sure if it's a real beef between these guys, but they need to do that because as far as the actual fight goes, it's not competitive. Daniel Cormier is the better wrestler, despite what Cummins has said and what the UFC's put out there. The one time these guys actually wrestled, Cormier beat him 7-0. Cummins couldn't get a takedown, couldn't even score a point. It was pretty much a thrashing on the mats. And obviously Cormier is more advanced in his MMA game. So the lines are extremely long, but in my eyes, extremely justified here.
Yeah, I think you would be smart to put the money on Cormier on that one, but you know, anything can happen in a fight, as Peter is fond of saying. So what do you say, Peter H? Do you believe there's a ghost chance in hell Cummins gets a huge upset here?
I wish this show was in Canada because this fight could have been sponsored by Tim Hortons. You know, you could call it the roll up the rim to win match of the night or something, you know, like give that the bonus money tag or something. But seriously, Cormier, heavy favorite in my opinion on this one. When I talk to my friends and family about what I'm watching this weekend, and I talk about Rousey, and I talk about Cormier, I say, well, they always ask, well, who's Cormier facing? I say, Pat Cummins. The same reaction from every single person. Who? It's like, exactly. Don't expect much from this fight. This fight won't last. It won't get out of the first round. I think Cormier will shut it down early, win the fight, and probably cut a decent promo afterwards, calling out, John Jones.
I think he might still want to fight Rashad Evans, though. I don't think he wants to jump right to John.
Yeah, but with Rashad Evans, from what I've heard, it's a bad knee injury, and we're talking a bad knee injury here. I mean, there's no such thing as a good knee injury, but it's one of those knee injuries where it's like, if the surgery doesn't take a certain way, it could be lights out for his career.
Well,
I just read on blackzillions.com, at least 6 months he's going to be out. At least.
Well, so much for the idea they were going to reschedule the fight for May, then.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's an interesting light heavyweight division right now because it is pretty thin. I'm not sure if Cormier, after beating Patrick Cummins, deserves a title shot with John Jones. I don't think that he does. So we might be getting that John Jones-Alexander Gustafsson rematch a little bit sooner than we expected.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it's trending that way right now with the Evans injury and Cormier probably getting a cakewalk fight. Again, don't want to take anything away from Pat Cummins. He'll come ready, but I don't think you could justify a title shot off of Cormier getting that win. It's not enough to put him there.
Maybe put Mousasi back in light heavy.
I don't know. Again, it seems to me that the performance he had in his UFC fight night against Lyoto Machida, people will say that's because he had to cut weight and he's not a good middleweight, but the problem is it does reflect badly on him in his own weight class now, to the point where he's going to have to win a couple of big fights to prove something.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of our next fight, someone looking to prove something, Rory MacDonald and Demian Maia.
Boy, I've heard so many jokes about this fight in the last 3 days. I don't think we have enough time in this show for me to run down all of them, but my favorite was get out your alarm clock.
Oh.
I can definitely see, I expect it to drag out a little bit and probably see this fight go to decision, but, just to look at the lines right now, based on Rory MacDonald's last couple of fights, he's still getting a lot of public support. He's minus 280 against Demian Maia, who is plus 240 at this point. And I just think it's pretty crazy that people still have this much faith in Rory MacDonald. Obviously he's a talented guy, but at those prices, I actually side with Demian Maia a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think Maia will win, but I can see myself placing a bet if I was going to, because you look at his skills, and they're the kind that could make it a really bad fight for MacDonald. If it goes to the ground, he could tap him out, and Maia has improved in his striking in almost every single fight, and Rory MacDonald seems to have plateaued and stayed at a level and not gotten any better for a little while now. Maybe Peter will take exception to me saying that. I don't know.
I really want to see MacDonald and Carlos Condit go back at it, Maybe a win here will put that fight in the realm of possibility. Yeah, I agree with you, Stevie, but the fight has potential to be really, really boring. I find, and we're going to talk about this after, about the last UFC show, a lot of decisions were there. A lot of the fighters are fighting a safer fight plan these days. They don't want to get cut. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to take any chances or risk, but no risk, no reward. This is a fight where no one's going to take a risk until like 1 minute left in the third. Yeah, I see MacDonald getting a decision here, but Maia's got, he can surprise you with his striking. So I think we're going to see 29-28 split decision for MacDonald here.
That's very possible, but hey, let's get off the alarm clock and wake ourselves up with the next fight. What do you say, Peter?
Yeah, TJ Waldburger and Mike Pyle.
Yeah, quicksand Pyle. Let's hope he doesn't sink. Brad, what are his chances of going under the deep?
Well, this fight should definitely set the table. I know it's the second fight on the pay-per-view card, but if you're sleeping after this one, I think there's going to be something wrong with you, because Mike Pyle and TJ Waldburger are two very fun fighters. Neither guy is particularly durable, so we're quite likely to see a finish here. But in terms of the odds, it's a little more lopsided than I would think. Mike Pyle's minus 190 right now, Waldburger's plus 165. And when you look at the matchup, obviously we know that Waldburger's got a horrible chin. Mike Pyle doesn't have a great chin himself, but he's also 38 years old, with Waldburger just being 25. So I kind of like some of the grappling advantages that Waldburger has here, and it could be another underdog bet for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I want to pick in that one for my official Wrestling Observer picks yet, but you just gave me a very good argument for Waldburger, and I think the odds favoring Pyle also has to do with him being a little more recognizable as a name right now, but Waldburger could definitely go in there and take him apart and make it a really miserable grinding fight for him if he wanted to.
I see this fight, it's one of those things where, with Pyle, the clock strikes 12. As you said, Brad, he's 38. He's not getting any younger. Much younger opponent here. At one point, I did see this fight as a pick'em fight, and then I've seen the action go a little bit more into Pyle's favor. I'm not sure where that betting is coming from, to be honest, but maybe it's from his family. Who knows? But I think Waldburger. I agree with your underdog selection here, and I don't see it going to decision. I think if Waldburger wants to win this fight, then he's going to have to win it in the second or first. I don't think going to third would benefit him.
Well, probably not. So that leaves us only one fight on the main card, unless, Peter, you've got any others on the prelims that you want to talk about.
Well, I did notice one name on here that actually, there's two fights I really like on the prelim card. One of them is Raphael Oliveira against Erik Koch on the Fight Pass. I'm surprised by that. And Alexis Davis and Jessica Evil Eye.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that fight quite a bit, actually.
Now, she did pass her pre-fight piss test there last week, and I think she'll be tested again this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she'll be smoking pot anytime soon, but...
I don't mean to be this flippant, but Brad, was there a line on her passing the piss test?
Oh, come on!
There wasn't, but sometimes I wish there were lines on these sorts of things. I've often made jokes with some other MMA people about, especially guys like Thiago Silva, who we all know just recently went insane, him passing his drug test, stuff like that. And I would always lean towards no with some of these MMA fighters, but I think Jessica Eye is a little bit more grounded. I know that she took a lot of heat for what happened with the whole UFC 166 fallout, but I think she's pretty grounded. She's got good people around her, so I didn't expect her to fail this test.
No.
I think the only time you see those odds, Stevie, for someone failing a drug test...
Nick Diaz?
If a Diaz is involved, absolutely.
I knew you were going there. I just knew it.
Evil Eye did prove one thing. If you're going to get popped for marijuana before it, or after your fight, make sure you do it in Texas.
Yeah, I guess so. But honestly, I really don't understand why this fight isn't on the main card instead of Robert Whittaker and Stephen Thompson. I don't get the logic.
Well, Brad, I did want to ask you one question about one of the prelim fights. I read your article there, and can you talk about Pedro Munhoz against Rafael Assunção?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good fight. I think Munhoz is one of the best bantamweight prospects that's out there right now. I think if you looked at some of the prospect lists, he'd probably be ranked in the top 5. Very, very good fighter. I think he's got a good future in the UFC. I just think that he's stepping into this fight a little bit too high on the ladder. You look at Raphael Assunção, and he's a top 5, top 10 bantamweight, and just been in there against Uriah Faber, TJ Dillashaw, Mike Easton, all these top bantamweights. So huge step up in competition for Pedro Munhoz. And while I like his skills, I like what he brings to the UFC, I think that he's just a little bit outmatched here, especially making his UFC debut. We've seen a lot lately that the guys making their UFC debuts have had a little bit of the proverbial octagon jitters and haven't really performed up to their potential. So I expect that to happen with Munhoz. But that being said, the line just got opened for this fight, and there has been some early money that has come in on Pedro Munhoz. So Raphael Assunção, if you're on the same page as me, is actually down as low as minus 195 now.
Wow. I would have expected him to be much more of a favorite than that.
Yeah, he opened up right around 3-1, so the line was obviously a little bit higher, and there's people that obviously see the same sort of potential in Munhoz as I do, but I guess they've got a little bit more faith in him in this spot than myself.
Well, how about that line on the Evil Eye fight, because we haven't touched on that yet?
Yeah, this is a fight that it's opened up relatively close. Alexis Davis was minus 190, Jessica Eye was plus 150. But since then, there's been some action that's come in on Jessica Eye. The line's tightened up a little bit, and Alexis Davis is minus 150 now, Jessica Eye plus 130. And at that price, even though she's a Canadian, I'm not being a homer here, I really like Alexis Davis. I think that Jessica Eye probably lost her fight against Sarah Kaufman. I think a lot of people feel the same way, and that's coming from somebody who actually I bet on Jessica Eye and won a bet based on that decision, and I still thought she lost. So I think that Alexis Davis is too technical on the feet. She's going to have a huge advantage if this fight goes to the ground. So I like her at minus 150 here.